Oh shit.
Hi, girl. Man, do I love riding. Call them what you please, a moped or scooter, a motorcycle or motorbike. Whatever your term for them is, wherever you're from, and no matter the style or horsepower, I love them. As long as it's motorized, two-wheeled, and in open air, we're in business. The funny thing is, until very recently, I had never even driven a car. Really, I hadn't. Like, at all. If it sounds crazy to you, well, it feels crazy to me too. I finally recently acquired my license for motorcycle after passing my driver's license and getting a car, and then taking classes for motorbike. Now I cannot wait to get out there and drive around myself. But before acquiring my license, anytime I had a chance, I would hop on the back of a motorbike. My first time riding a motorized anything was in India. It was a little scooter, and I'll hastily admit I sucked. But I got the hang of it after a while, a little bit, with the excellent directions and tips from a more experienced friend I made while there. Some of you may be wondering how I ended up on the back of these motorbikes, and the answer really varies. The short answer is, through making friends at hostels I stay at where people have already rented them out and I hop on back. Through random strangers I meet at the side of the road or other spontaneous areas where they offer me rides. And through certain apps that exist in countries where you can order a taxi. Kind of like Uber, but for motorbikes. I'll explain more on that in a minute. Now you may be thinking, what about the dangers? What about the accidents? Is it legal to drive over there? In the end, only you can make the decision about whether or not you're going to drive or ride on a motorbike, and so weigh your options carefully. If you're riding in the back like me, do you trust your driver enough? Have they been drinking? Use your brain, follow your gut, and accept the decisions you make and the risks that come along with it. Riding a motorbike always comes with risks, no matter the country. Add to the mix a foreign country with foreign traffic laws, disorganized roads and traffic of developing countries, plus sometimes crudely made roads, and the risks only multiply. As for the legality and laws for driving as a foreigner, of course that completely depends on the country you're in. In Asia, where I've spent the majority of my time traveling, you can get away with almost anything. Most places, you won't need any kind of license because the companies renting or selling you motorbikes don't check. And if you happen to be stopped by the police, you will more than likely just have to pay a bribe. In Europe and other parts of the world, I've heard it's more difficult to rent without an international driver's license. I could ramble on about the whole pros and cons of riding a motorbike, but I think you get the idea. Can it be dangerous? Of course it can. It's a motorized vehicle. Is it worth it? Hell yes. Traffic can be jam-packed in many countries, and sitting in a car trying to get through it can take you at least twice as long, if not a lot longer. And on motorbike, you get to see more, smell more, feel the open air, and hear the sounds of the place around you. Go hop on one and see for yourself. Back on the subject of motorbike apps and services, I would recommend doing a little research and seeing if there are any existing taxi services for motorbike transportation in the country you plan on visiting. That is, if you don't plan to rent or purchase a motorbike yourself. I love these apps and used them all the time when I found them available. For example, in Vietnam, the app is called Grab, where you can order a car or motorbike with ease by placing an order for one from your phone. Very similar to Uber or Lyft. They wear green helmets and shirts, and you'll see them all over the country, but especially in major cities like Hanoi or Saigon. You'll need a SIM card to use the app as it requires a phone number when ordering. But SIM cards are cheap in Vietnam and well worth buying in my opinion, and for more than just the motorbike services. To give you an idea of the cost of a ride, I took Grab on an almost daily basis, if not several times a day while staying 2 months in Saigon. And the cost for going about 1 mile on motorbike was roughly 86 cents. Another great app is called Toodle in Nepal. It exists in the capital of Kathmandu, but I'm not too sure about other cities around the country. Again, you'll need a SIM card to use the app and order a motorbike. But just like Vietnam, the price for a SIM card is very cheap, and it's a great way to get out and see and explore the city. The other ways I've managed to hitch rides on the back of motorbikes, aside from using apps, is meeting people that turn out to be either renting one out or own a motorbike in the current country I am in. And the majority of the time, this is how I catch rides. I'll give you a few examples. One afternoon in the south of France, I was sitting at a cafe just minding my own business when I noticed a man chattering with a bunch of people. I watched him for a while and then forgot about it. A few minutes later, the same man pulled up on his scooter to the cafe I was at, and he started chattering to me in French. I told him in my broken French I didn't speak French, but he persisted in trying to communicate with me, and me, enjoying these kinds of interactions, continued to try as well. Through my broken French, his broken English, hand gestures, and the help of Google Translate, I realized he was offering me a ride on his scooter. Of course, I said yes. I quickly paid and we sped off. That day, I ended up going from Nice, France, to Monte Carlo, Monaco, a sovereign city-state and microstate in the French Riviera, and by rights, its own little country. The trip from Nice to Monte Carlo was only a half hour and was along the coast of the beautiful Mediterranean Sea, with spectacular views of its turquoise waters seen from high above the cliffs the road snaked along. On another occasion, this time in Dalat, Vietnam, I met a man from Mumbai, India, who was staying at the same hostel as me. We made fast friends and ended up going all over the place on the back of his motorbike. We explored bars with mazes in them, visited waterfalls, explored temples, and just cruised around for the fun of it. We had great times together and are still friends to this day. Shout out to Kai Zed, miss you, man. I've already mentioned Gisselle, the friend I made while in India who gave me my tattoo. He was staying at the same hostel I was, and that is how we met as well. One last example I'll give takes place in Australia. While I was living out there, I met a man named Eduardo. We met at a house party through a mutual friend of ours, Paul. I had met Paul earlier that year, and we also became friends, riding motorbike together in Laos. You saw the clip in the beginning of the video when we almost collided with a calf. After becoming friends with Eduardo, I learned he had a motorbike and, well, the rest you can figure out. There's a dozen other stories similar to these few examples I gave, but I think these suffice in giving you the general idea of how I end up on the back of motorbikes around the world. If you love them like me, then I strongly encourage you to get out there and get on them. There's risks when hopping on bikes with strangers or riding in crazy traffic in foreign lands. But life is full of risks, and at the end of the day you have to recognize, if you're trying to eliminate all risks from your life, what you're actually doing is eliminating all possibility from your life. You're trying to collapse the universe of outcomes, such that what you've lost is freedom. You've lost the ability to act because you're afraid. So let all of that go. Get out there and ride.